So let's start with a brief overview of the aim of the study and why it was conducted in the first place, sir.
As you have noted in your introduction, China is now become the lender of first resort for many, many countries around the world. So what you're seeing now is that China is outspending the United States by a margin of 2-1, to the tune of about $85 billion a year in development financing around the world. But unlike the G7 countries, which have a commitment to and in a systematic way declare all of those financing activities that they're doing through the OECD, which is an organization based in Paris, China does not do that. So Chinese lending, in a way, is shrouded in secrecy. And it is very difficult for other donors, citizens, to ascertain how much is being spent, when, and where. So here at AidData, which is a research lab at William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, we have an initiative going on for over 10 years, which systematically tracks these project finances so that we make public some of the details that are otherwise not available as to the when and the where, how of Chinese development financing.
All right, sir. So let's dig into this secret financing here. What exactly is hidden debt and how is it different from foreign aid?
Well, there are different ways of thinking about hidden debt. In our approach, the way we've thought about this is, what you have to understand is that in the last few years, especially what we call the Belt and Road era, the BRI era, the Chinese financing has used more creative ways to fund governments that otherwise do not have the capacity to take on these big loans. So what we see is that as compared to the pre-BRI era, the likelihood that Chinese financing will go to government borrowers has gone down dramatically. Now we see that up to 61% of the financing coming out of China is actually going to other entities, which could be state-owned enterprises in developing countries, could be state-owned banks, they could be joint ventures or special purpose vehicles. Now, all of that means that we are now looking at sort of murky terrain, which is between public debt, which is declared and in the public and has to be reported to international organizations like the World Bank and the IMF, and private transactions, which do not have all of those stipulations and all of those requirements. So as you said, we have found that 42 countries now have debt levels in excess of 10% of their GDP. The total that we have found in hidden debt, which is the gap between what is out in the public sphere and people know of, and what is actually owed to China, is $385 billion, which on average is 5.8% of GDP of some of these countries. Now, one other thing that I think is important to understand is that a lot of times these debts are in the form of implicit debt. So, for example, in a power project that's being funded by a Chinese company, the government may not be the borrower itself. The borrower might be a private entity or joint venture, as I said. But the government has made a guarantee that in case the project goes belly up or some kind of problem happens, they will foot the bill. So ultimately, the objective of this exercise was to systematically uncover some of these instances and to make sure that the public, both internationally and especially in those developing countries, are aware of these ground realities.
All right, sir, just about a minute left here. But how are these 42 countries, how are their governments keeping track of what they owe to the Chinese government in this hidden debt?
Look, every country has, as I said, an obligation to report these debt numbers to international bodies. They all have reporting systems of their own. But what I'm seeing in developing countries is that a lot of them don't have the capacity to keep track of everything, especially when it's in this murky terrain of hidden guarantee, like not hidden guarantees, I should say, sovereign guarantees or a return on equity guarantees that they've given out. So they don't have much of a capacity to keep track of all of this in a systematic way. And on the other hand, because they're always looking for election cycles and quick wins, they also don't have much of an incentive to actually do so.
All right, Dr. Malik, we've just got about 10 seconds left, but I really want our viewers to access your report. Where can we find it?
Visit our website. It's aiddata.org. You will find the data set and the report and the documentation. Everything is on our website, aiddata.org.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. And we'll be right back.